Long time ago, I made a video on the sons of God, the angels. And in that video, I made mention about how I pretty much I can't say I know, but strongly believe that the angels were created to mate also, right? For and that they have genitalia. And in the video, I made my case to proving that because they disobeyed God to come down and sleep with the daughters of men. Now, what the angels, remember, men are made just a little lower than the angels. That is what the New Testament says. We are made just a little lower than the angels. And these angels, a third of them, or not, well, that's a different, I believe it's a different occasion. Let me not make this video complicated. The ones that rebelled at the time of Noah, I believe, well, all the angels are like this, but the ones that rebelled, obviously, they rebelled because they went against what God wanted them to do. So that means God did not want them to sleep with the daughters of men. But they came down, materialized themselves, and slept with the daughters of men. That means they didn't, angels cannot create. Okay, angels can't create. Jehovah is the creator. The Almighty is the creator. Angels are not creators. And they cannot create within themselves and put within themselves a faculty that the Almighty did not create them to have. So their genitalia that they had, that they used to sleep with the daughters of men, to father the Nephilims, right? So not only did they have genitalia, but it worked. It had semen in it. And they, impregnated the daughters of men and they bred the giants. They had these faculties within them, which means that the Almighty created them with that faculty. Again, we are made just a little lower than the angels. And now in that video, I made my case for that. So I'm not going to go more into it in this video. But the reason why I'm making this video is because something has hit me. And it's not just now. I just remembered about it now. But it was a while ago that I remembered this, or that I thought about this. And I'm remembering now. God makes Adam a little lower than the angels, right? Then he gives Adam Eve. But God had a test for Adam. God had a test for Adam. He said, all the trees that you see, you can eat. But that tree, don't eat. Adam had no problem with this. It's a test, but Adam doesn't care. He can obey that commandment. It wasn't until Eve came that Adam fell, because Eve was extremely sexy, beautiful, right? At last, flesh of my flesh, bones of my bone of my bones. And she's who he can see. He can't see God. He knows God is there, but he can't see God. And that lack of trust in God is what sin is. When you don't trust in God completely, it's sin. So I think that's a strong part of what sin is. That's why everyone has sinned, because everyone at least one point in their life have doubted God. And if you can doubt God, that is sin. Christ never doubted God. So Christ was sinless. I believe the doubting of God is where sin begins. I strongly believe that, and that was in the DNA of Adam. So that was passed on. That made a defect in his genes, and that's been passed on to every single person. There is not one person that has been born that has not doubted God. Okay, so that's what that is. But Christ never doubted, and the angels are sinless because they don't doubt God, because they see Him. But the devil doubted God. He didn't doubt God's power. He doubted God's intentions. That's sin. The angels doubted God's intentions, and some of them, and came and slept with the daughters of men. They didn't fully trust God. That is what sin is. To doubt Him is to not fully trust Him. So because they didn't fully trust him, that's why some came and slept with the daughters of men. Now, where am I getting to? I deviated a lot, but where am I getting to? God had a test for Adam. Don't eat from this tree. Every other tree you can eat from, but this tree, don't eat from it. God had a test for Adam, but he didn't have a test for his other sons in heaven, the angelic sons in heaven. What was their test? Maybe some of y'all already know where I'm going to. What was their test? Now, Adam's test was not Eve, because Eve was made for Adam. Adam's test was the tree of knowledge of good and bad. He didn't even know about the tree of life. He didn't know about that tree. He knew about the tree of knowledge of good and bad. So his test was that, not Eve, because Eve was made for him. Could it be that God's test for his sons in heaven was the creation of womankind? Because you have to understand, like, that's why I began in this. Anytime I'm making a video, somebody with a loud motorcycle passes by. It's crazy. It's like a given. Or maybe I just notice it because I'm recording. Yeah, it could be that, right? You pay attention to red cars, or you're going to start seeing a lot is red cars. Yeah, okay, well. Remember, like I said in the intro of this video, the angels cannot the angels can't put chests on themselves if the Almighty did not create them to have chests, right? They can't have teeth. They can't materialize themselves to be like men unless men were in fact created a little lower than them. Or let me put it this way. They can't materialize themselves and become men unless they are made a little higher than what men already are. So we are what angels are, but they are a little higher. Their spirit, they're more glorious, and they can't be seen because they're in a different realm. That's it, right? That's a different topic, different realm, but they are like us, but a little more glory. So they have. Think about it. If they were not created with mating potential, with that desire, then why would some disobey the Almighty and come down to sleep with the daughters of men if they did not have a genuine desire to do so? Their desire for women is probably even stronger than our desire for women. You have to understand something, because they're healthy, potent men, but angelic men. They're strong, they're vital, their hormones are good. You know what I mean? So it could be that if their desire for women is not the same as ours, it could be even stronger. I believe the creation of womankind was the test for the angels. That's why some of them failed the test, just as much as Adam failed the test because of a woman. Adam's failing of the test was not in the woman. It was because he listened to the woman. So Adam's downfall was because he listened to his wife's or his woman's voice. So the test for Adam was not womankind. The test for Adam was the tree of knowledge of good and bad. But the test for the angels was womankind. That was their forbidden fruit, and they could not resist. They saw that the daughters of men were beautiful, and so they came down. This is what the account says. And so they came down and took all whom they chose. They wanted them all, and they took them all, and they're handsome. So the women ain't gonna say no, you know. So could it be? So the seraphim have 6 wings, 2 to fly about, 2 to cover their faces, and 2 to cover their legs. To cover their legs. To cover their legs. Could it be to cover their genitalia? Because they don't need to eat from the tree of knowledge of good and bad to know that they're naked. So to be aware of your naked state is to be knowledgeable, is to be like aware, is to be mature. The seraphim are mature. They're naked, so they cover themselves. Adam and Eve covered themselves after their eyes were opened, but the seraphim, their eyes are already opened. So the cherubim, the seraphim, the angels, all the different rankings, maybe their test was womankind. Or maybe lower ranking angels, maybe that was their test. you know. And the angels who didn't come down to sleep with the daughters of men, they passed the test. But the thing is, because Adam was only one of a kind and he failed the test, sin has creeped into all mankind. But if some angels in heaven sin, they're not all sinners. It's only they themselves who sin are the sinners. So if God created a bunch of Adams on the earth, Adam would have been the only one who sinned, which that kind of goes into how God works. God doesn't create a bunch of Adams. He created one Adam, and all humans came through Adam. God created one person in heaven through which everything came. That's why Christ is called the greater Adam. Okay, so yeah, I think you guys, I don't think I need to talk more about this, but I think your mind can go pretty far on its own. So like I said, I made a video proving the case, but let me expound a little bit more. The angels have genitalia. Their genitalia functions correctly, which is why they had a desire to use it. If you're not created with mating potential, then you're a castrated man, right? Is a castrated man tempted to sleep with women? No, he's not. Because that's why animals, when they're neutered, they have no desire to mate. So angels are not neutered. Angels have genitalia, potent, well-functioning genitalia. When it came down, they wanted as many women as possible because their testosterone is where it's at. It's angelic, right? There's no defect in it. So that was their test. So God basically, he made them with the genitalia and he just waited. He made Adam with his genitalia, but Adam had no temptation to sleep with anything because the animals was not his desire, right? Obviously, the angels, if their desire was not for womankind, then it would be like a man's desire for animals. A man doesn't desire animals. So why would angels desire women if they weren't originally created for that? You understand? You see what I'm getting at? So God makes his sons, they're sons of the true God. There are no daughters in heaven. And if there were women in heaven, then the sons of God would not have been tempted to sleep with daughters of men if they already have women in heaven to sleep with. It would make no sense to disobey the Almighty. It will make no sense. So, right? You already have women here. Why would you go to a lower realm, a lesser dimensional world to sleep with the daughters there when there are women in your realm to sleep with? At the disobedience of your Almighty Father, whom you know will destroy you if you do it. So no, they were genuinely tempted. Right? So God makes the angels his sons with their genitalia, but there's no inciting to be intimate with anything because nothing has been made yet for them to have the desire for, which is why Adam had no desire to mate with anything until Eve was created. Then the desire was there to the point where he disobeyed God because of that desire, because his wife was so beautiful. He didn't want to lose her disapproval, basically, right? So God makes his sons in heaven. No temptations yet. But God has a test for them. God makes Adam on earth. No temptations for him yet. But God has a test for him. His test is the tree of knowledge of good and bad. That's his test. Adam is like, oh, no problem. No problem. God makes Eve. The tree is not a test for me. But because of Eve, now the tree becomes a genuine test for Adam. But God is in the heavens. Now, I'm just speculating, okay? I'm just speculating. I don't know if this is what God's intentions was. I'm just speculating. God is there. I'm speculating that maybe God is just seeing what his sons are going to do when they see the beauty of these women on earth. Right? Now, they got the genitalia. Now the desire is there. Now the desire is creeping up like, yo, these girls is bad, yo. Damn. Like, with them breasts, the figures, beautiful faces. Yo, yeah, the test is now God is watching. Let's see. God is watching. Some of them angels was like, nah, we can't resist. So in the new creation, it could be that God is going to create womankind for the angels. We don't know. Because remember, God didn't stop creating, he rested. There's a difference between resting and stopping. When you rest, you intend to continue. That's why the Bible speaks of a new creation. God is going to start creating again. God is unlimited. He can create and create and create and create and never stop up until infinity. We can never grasp that concept. But yeah, that's who Jehovah is. He can do whatever he wants to do. So I strongly believe that the angels who didn't rebel, who didn't fail the test, they're going to be rewarded with extravagantly beautiful, angelic women. It may not be for procreative purposes. It may just be for pleasure, right? It doesn't have to be for procreation. It could just be for pleasure. But that's just the tangent that I went on. So, yeah, constantly meditating on the Bible, and other things too that I don't really like to talk about because it could be too strong or whatever. But I think the strongest one that I've made so far was the one on prostitution, which I already proved my point on that one. So hey y'all, peace.